Tonight, London is not the peaceful postcard city you know. It's wet. It's dark. The fog is so thick it feels like it has weight. You're walking alone on a narrow street. You hear footsteps behind you. Close. Steady. Matching your pace. You turn around. No one. Now imagine this. In this exact kind of night, 5 women were murdered in ways that shocked even the toughest London cops of the 1800s. The killer? Never caught. Never named. Never unmasked. But the whole world knows his stage name. Jack the Ripper. You're watching Infamous Killer Files. And in this episode, we're diving into the one case that turned the word serial killer into a global nightmare. Jack the Ripper, the killer who never got a face. Before we begin, this video is for information and analysis only. We do not glorify or romanticize violent crime. The only people who deserve to be remembered are the victims. Alright, let's go back to London. Year 1888. 1. The city that created a monster. The London you see today. Big Ben, Tower Bridge, shiny glass buildings. Does not exist yet. Instead, you have smoke. You have factories. You have rich and poor. Split in a way that is brutal. On one side, the West End. Clean streets, gas lamps, gentlemen's clubs, opera houses. People drinking fine wine, talking about politics, art, and empire. On the other side, Whitechapel. The East End. This is where London hides its problems. Overcrowded tenements. Whole families crammed into a single small room. Alcohol is cheaper than comfort. Violence is cheaper than justice. By day, people fight to survive. By night, the streets change. Women in thin shawls stand in doorways, waiting for any man who can offer a few coins for a short time together. To most of London, these women are invisible. They don't have protection. They don't have power. They barely have names in the eyes of society. And that is exactly what makes Whitechapel the perfect hunting ground for someone like Jack the Ripper. 2. The first body, Mary Ann Polly Nichols. Night, August 31st Street, 1888. A woman named Mary Ann Nichols, friends call her Polly, walks through the streets of Whitechapel. She's had a hard life. Broken marriage, no stable home, drinking to forget. She's trying to earn enough money for a bed in a cheap lodging house. If she can't pay, she sleeps outside. For most people in London, Polly is just another poor woman. But for the man watching her from the shadows, she is a target. Around 3:40 a.m., Polly is found lying on the ground near a dark gateway in Bucks Row. At first glance, people think she's just drunk, passed out. Then someone brings a lantern closer, and the truth hits them like ice. Polly isn't sleeping. She's dead. And whoever killed her worked fast, precise, and without panic. The local police arrive. They've seen violence before. Whitechapel is not a gentle place. But this feels different. There's a sense of control. No messy panic, no random rage. This looks like someone who knew what they were doing. Still, at this point, it's officially just one murder. In a bad neighborhood. London shrugs. The city keeps moving. But the man who did this is just getting started. 3. The second, Annie Chapman and the Pattern. Less than 2 weeks later. September 8, 1888. Another night. Another woman. Her name is Annie Chapman. She's in her late 40s. Struggling with poverty, health problems, and alcohol. She spends the night drifting between lodging houses, looking for money, looking for a place to stay. Before dawn, she's spotted talking to a man in a dark coat in a small yard behind a house on Hanbury Street. A neighbor hears a woman's voice. No, no. Then silence. When Annie's body is found, everyone knows instantly. This was not a random killing. To avoid graphic detail, we'll just say this. The scene is brutal. And there's a pattern that links her to Polly Nichols. Same type of victim. Same area. Same time of night. Same cold sense of control. Now the police have a problem. A big one. Something is hunting women in Whitechapel. And it's hunting with a plan. Newspapers pick up the story. They love the drama. Beast in the East End. Mysterious fiend stalks our streets. The public reaction? Panic, mixed with morbid curiosity. People are scared. But they also can't stop reading about it. That dangerous combo is exactly what will turn this killer into a global legend. 4. The letter and the birth of Jack the Ripper. In the middle of rising fear, the police and newspapers receive something strange. A letter, written in red ink, signed with a name the world will never forget. Some versions start with, "Dear boss." It mocks the police. It jokes about work the killer is doing. And at the bottom, it carries a signature, Jack the Ripper. Just like that, the killer has a brand. Is the letter real? Did the actual killer write it? To this day, no one can say with 100% certainty. Some historians think it was a journalist trying to hype the story and sell more newspapers. Others think it was a sick prank. And some believe this really was the killer, enjoying the chaos from a distance. But in a way, it doesn't matter. Once the name hits the headlines, it sticks. Jack the Ripper. Much more dramatic than unknown killer in Whitechapel. Newspapers print it in big, bold letters. People whisper it in pubs. Parents use it to scare kids into coming home early. Overnight, the faceless killer in the fog becomes a monster with a name. 5. The double event, 2 murders, 1 night. Now that the press has a name, the pressure is on. Police patrol the streets. People stay inside more. Everyone is on edge. But the killer? He doesn't slow down. September 30th, 1888. This night will be known forever as the double event. First, there's Elizabeth Stride. She's found in a dark yard on Burner Street. Killed quickly. Strangely, her body doesn't show the same level of mutilation as the previous victims. Some investigators think the killer was interrupted. Maybe someone walked by. A cart turned into the yard. Something spooked him. If that's true, if his plan was cut short, then the second murder that night feels like a terrible, twisted make-up for it. Less than an hour later, not far away at Mitre Square, another woman is found. Her name is Catherine Eddowes. The scene is significantly worse. Again, without going into graphic detail, the message is clear. Whoever did this had time, had focus, had a ritual in his mind. 2 murders. Same night. Same area of London. Jack the Ripper just turned up the volume. 6. The city in panic. At this point, London is done pretending. This is just another crime wave. People are furious, terrified. They question the police. They question the government. They question each other. Rumors explode. Jack is a foreigner. Jack is a butcher. Jack is a doctor. Jack is part of some secret society. I saw a suspicious man with a black bag. Every shadow becomes a suspect. The police are drowning in tips and letters. Some are useful. Most are nonsense. But the brutal reality is simple. Even with all eyes on him, Jack the Ripper is still one step ahead. He walks into the dark. He does what he wants. He disappears. No cameras. No DNA. No smartphones. No forensics like we have today. Just fog, fear, and guesswork. 7. The last canonical victim, Mary Jane Kelly. Then comes November 9th, 1888. The next victim is different. Her name is Mary Jane Kelly. She's younger than the others. She's believed to be around 25. And unlike the other women, Mary doesn't die in a street or a yard. She dies inside, in a tiny room in Miller's Court, off Dorset Street. Walls, a door, a small bed, a space that should have been safer than an alley. Neighbors hear a faint cry in the early morning. But in a place like Whitechapel, screams are not rare. People are used to noise. They don't react. Sometime after 10 a.m., someone finally forces their way into Mary Jane Kelly's room. What they see inside shocks even the most hardened officers. Again, we'll avoid graphic detail. But understand this. This is considered the most savage of all the Ripper murders. He had time. He was indoors, out of sight, behind a door. No patrols walking by. No random cart turning the corner. Just him, his victim, And silence. After Mary Jane Kelly, something changes. The killings that match the classic Ripper pattern come to an abrupt end. No more bodies, clearly tied to Jack's signature. No arrest. No trial. No final showdown. He just disappears. 8. What happened to Jack? So what happened? This is where theories explode. Some say he died. Sickness, accident, suicide. Some say he left London, moved to another country, another city, where nobody connected his new crimes to the old Whitechapel murders. Some think he was actually in an institution, locked away quietly, for mental illness, or some other crime the public never told. Others believe he was someone with influence, someone important, and that the truth was covered up. Books, documentaries, series. Everyone has their favorite suspect. A local barber, a Polish immigrant, a wealthy doctor, even members of the royal circle have been accused in wild conspiracy theories. But the brutal truth is this: we don't know. After more than 130 years, with all the modern analysis, profiling, forensics, computer modeling, the identity of Jack the Ripper is still a question mark. And that is exactly why his story refuses to die. 9. The real people behind the legend. When people talk about Jack the Ripper, they often focus on him. His name, his possible face, his psychology, his legend. But if we stop there, we miss the point. This story is not just about a killer. It's about Mary Ann Polly Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. Women who lived real lives. Laughed, cried, argued, loved people, had dreams, even if the world around them didn't care. They were poor. They were vulnerable. And society wrote them off as less important. That made them easy targets for a predator. Jack the Ripper didn't just expose the failure of police. He exposed the failure of a whole system that allowed so many people to fall through the cracks. And if that sounds like just old history to you, look around today. In many cities, there are still neighborhoods that feel invisible to the rest of society. Still groups of people that are easier to ignore until something terrible happens. That's one reason this case still hits so hard. It forces us to ask, who are the invisible people in our world right now? And what happens when someone decides to take advantage of that invisibility? 10. Why Jack still haunts us. So, more than a century later, why are we still talking about Jack the Ripper? There are 3 big reasons. 1. The mystery. Humans hate loose ends. You tell us. There's a puzzle no one has solved for over 100 years. And instantly, we're interested. We want the answer. We want the name. We want to feel like chaos can be turned into order. 2. The atmosphere. Foggy London. Gas lamps. Horse-drawn carriages. Narrow alleys. It feels like the setting of a horror movie. Or a detective novel. Except it was real. 3. The fear that feels too familiar. Walking alone at night. Hearing footsteps behind you. Not knowing who's there. That's not an 1888 problem. That's a human problem. The idea that someone can smile at you by day and become a monster at night. That keeps people awake. Even now, Jack the Ripper is not just a historical killer. He's become a symbol for the fear of unknown danger. Walking right next to us. 11. Walking through Whitechapel today. If you go to London now, you can actually take a Jack the Ripper tour. Guides will walk you through modern streets, past cafes, shops, apartments, and then suddenly stop and say, right here, this corner, this is where one of the victims was found. The buildings have changed. Street lamps are brighter. But if you know the history, you can almost feel the old London underneath. You stand on a normal sidewalk, with people scrolling on phones, waiting for buses, and you realize, on this same ground, over 100 years ago, someone looked up, saw a stranger's face for the last time, and never went home. That's when the distance between true crime story and real human tragedy suddenly disappears. 12. The final question, and your turn. Maybe one day. Some forgotten piece of evidence. Some old diary. Some preserved DNA. Will finally reveal the real name behind the mask of Jack the Ripper. But even if that happens, this case will never just be about one man. It will always be about how society treats the most vulnerable. How systems meant to protect us can fail. How fear and fascination mix. Until a killer becomes a legend. Jack the Ripper was one person, but the conditions that allowed him to exist. Poverty, neglect, indifference. Those are much bigger than any one name. So, now it's your turn. If you made it all the way to this point, I want to ask you, what do you think happened to Jack the Ripper? Did he die soon after? Did he move somewhere else and keep killing? Is he a powerful person, protected by the system? Let me know your theory in the comments. And more importantly, which case would you like to see next in The Notorious Murder Files? Subscribe to never miss the next case file, and share this with your friends who love dark history and unsolved mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next case.